I was honestly expecting these guys to be some fairly weedy little bodyguards, but these little murder buckets really do seem to pack a decent punch. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy-focused 40k channel, where we've been covering the new 9th edition rules as they've come out. Today in another one of their Indomitus box set previews, Games Workshop have shown off the rules for their Cryptech bodyguards, the Cryptothralls, leaking their whole datasheets that will be included in the box. I honestly didn't think that these guys would be very dangerous. Just on the basis look of their models, they don't really look all the most threatening, with what looks like a couple of Hormigaunt style claws, and the fact that they seem to be wearing some sort of Necron barrel contraption. I also wasn't expecting them to have any sort of shooting attack, but apparently that eye can stare a little bit harder than I thought it could. In the background, these Cryptothralls protect the Cryptechs, the Necron reanimators and scientists, which include the Plasmancer model that was previewed in the Indomitus box. They're fairly resilient, fairly deadly, and they also get even deadlier when they're close to their Cryptech masters. Let's take a look at what they can do. So Cryptechs are 2 power level units, and you get exactly 2 of them in the unit, and apparently if you include them in a Necron army that contains a Cryptech, they won't take up a detachment slot. I strongly suspect that they would be an elite's choice if you didn't have a Cryptech in the detachment. Power level typically equates into around about 20 points, so as a points estimate I would imagine that these guys will be somewhere between 15 and 25 points a model. Of course we're going to have to wait and see exactly how much they cost, but I think guessing at about 20 points wouldn't be unreasonable. The Cryptothralls have a fairly beefy profile. There's 2 in the unit, they have a movement of 5, weapon skill and ballistic skill of 4, strength and toughness of 5, 2 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 10 and a 3+ save. In terms of toughness and wounds, they're really not so very far away from Lichguard or Triarch Praetorians in terms of their stat line. Possibly not quite as dangerous as either of these, but I suspect that they'll cost less than either. In terms of war gear, they're equipped with a Scouring Eye and Scythed Limbs. The Scythed Limbs are essentially AP-1 close combat weapons, so 3 attacks at strength 5 with AP-1, enough to cut up a few light infantry for sure. But their Scouring Eye is relatively potent. It's a 12-inch range pistol 2 weapon with strength 5, AP-2 and again damage 1. It's pretty optimised for killing tactical marines or other elite 1-wound infantry. In their abilities section there's a bit of a surprise because they not only have reanimation protocols, but they also have living metal. Reanimation protocols is the roll of a 5+ to get them back up at the start of each turn if you've lost any models in the unit. At some point Games Workshop have said that they've changed this, but we don't know exactly what form it's going to take in the new edition. I suspect they'll be changing it to make it a bit more reliable, and a little less all or nothing depending on whether the squad's wiped. As it is though, they wouldn't be taking advantage of it very often. Reanimation protocols tends to be best on things with big units, basically so your opponent will struggle to kill the entire unit in one turn, so a lot of them can get back up the next turn. The inclusion of living metal on these guys is a bit different though. In general, Necron infantry units don't tend to have living metal. It's typically reserved for the characters and vehicles, like the Cryptechs themselves for example. Living metal allows you to heal 1 wound at the start of each of your turns, so presuming this is unchanged, it means that if you injure one of these but don't kill them, they're going to regenerate to a full 2 wounds. They might have acquired this because they're sort of elite units that are working with characters, so maybe have some slightly better reanimation technology on the go. But it could be a change that they've rolled out to other units, such as those Triarch Praetorians and Lichguard, who would very much thank you for being able to heal a wound on any injured model at the start of each turn. Their bound creation rule means that they don't take up slots in the detachment if you have a Cryptech in the same detachment. I'm honestly not sure from the wording of this as to whether or not you will even be able to take them without Cryptechs. I guess we'll have to wait and see for their full datasheet, and see if they even have one of the discriminators that tell you which slot they come from. They have the Protector special rule, which means that enemy models cannot target a Cryptech unit from your army with a ranged weapon whether it's within 3 inches of a Cryptothralls unit. This basically ties in with the new character targeting special rules, because they wouldn't be able to stream for characters if they were next to them if they had less than 3 models in the unit. I'm hoping that other similar bodyguard units, such as Celestine's Gemini and the Company Veterans from Space Marines, will also be able to have a similar rule to stop characters being shot when they're right there and supposed to be saving them. Just from reading this rule, this makes no exception to sniper fire whatsoever, so unless I'm mistaken, I don't believe that you can target Cryptechs with sniper weapons if they're right next to a Cryptothrall unit. You would have to gun down the Cryptothralls first before turning attention to the Cryptech, which could be difficult, particularly if you place the Cryptothralls out of line of sight and the Cryptech within line of sight, but still within 3 inches. You could potentially make that entire formation completely untargetable with any ranged weapons until those Cryptothralls are eliminated in some way. Finally, they have the Systematic Vigor special rule, which improves their ballistic skill and also turns them into absolute murder machines when they're next to a Cryptech. Their weapon skill and ballistic skill will jump up to 3+, which is a decent damage boost in itself, but also just randomly, their attack characteristic goes to 6. That's 12 attacks between these 2 little models, and that's going to make short work of enemy light infantry. Next to Cryptechs, these guys are going to kill around about 4 or 5 dead guardsmen in a turn, and kill around about 1 tactical marine or 2 guardsmen in the shooting phase. Finally, in terms of keywords, they have a few interesting ones. They have the Canoptech keyword, which will lock them out of certain stratagems and unit synergies, and they also lack the character keyword, so if you are out in the open, then the enemy will be able to gun down these units with standard weapons. They still seem reasonably tough, to be honest, but I guess we will have to wait for their points cost to be able to tell that properly, at least on a points per points basis. Overall, they seem like very decent bodyguards, and an absolute murderous counter-attack type unit that could be very good for charging enemy units that are getting too close to your Cryptex. I think it'll remain to be seen exactly how good these guys are. If they are very strong for their points, then I see them being taken. Typically though, bodyguard type units don't tend to have a very good press in Warhammer 40k, unless they're protecting something truly vital, like tower drones protecting a Riptide for example. It'd be interesting to see what sort of abilities they can get through the various new dynasties. At the moment, the Novok ability, which is awakened by murder, allowing me to reroll hit rolls in the fight phase, is pretty helpful. We'll have to see if that new Zarakan dynasty can give them anything else. So overall, I think it's quite good for these guys. They're looking decently threatening with that very high number of attacks next to your Cryptek. I wonder if we might be able to see them paired up with things like Illuminor Seraz, who I suspect will retain his Cryptek keyword. I'm certainly looking forward to the other reveals for the Indomitus box miniatures, and I'll be covering them on the channel whenever we get news for them. So if you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics for plenty more like this, or just check back later for more 40k related videos. And if you've been enjoying my videos recently and would like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon page which is down in the video description below. As well as allowing me to continue making these videos, channel patrons also get to see videos early each week. There's regular voting on what sort of videos I make next for the channel, and there's regular Patreon giveaways which can be accessed on the Patreon page or via Facebook each month. If any of that sounds interesting to you, or you'd just like to help support the channel, then the link is down in the video description below, and a massive thank you to my current patrons to allow me to keep on making videos as a full-time thing. In any case, a big thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.